Card. Hi again, this is Parvin. So today I'm going to cover balance scorecard. So this is a lecture series of MBA students who have to undertake manage sustainability subject which is usually mandatory as part of the curriculum. It's for MIT ADT University. So let's start today lessons. So balance scorecard. So what is the balance scorecard? So and why do we need it? So basically everybody wants to have a balance, right? A balance, proper balance sheet. Like, okay, well, so balance, so everybody has a different flow, like, how do customers see us? Like, so customers, does the customer sees us as a good organization or the bad organization? Is the customer like thinking like, hey, by buying this product, am I harming myself? Like, uh, and obviously there are like, how do we improve and create value? Like if you're a barrister, how do we get these stuff on time, faster? And of course, finance people are looking from sales, gross margin, net profit. So every shareholder as what do you call stakeholder, right? Look into from different aspect, right? So employee look into different aspect, customer look from different aspect, and that's what we have to balance, like so that we can balance out the aspiration of everybody and still manage to have sustainable business as well as sustainable society. So we talked about like we make vision and strategy, like what we want to do, right? So that we say, okay, so suppose somebody is using electricity, like we want to move to some renewable energy. Suppose somebody is using water, so you can make some vision and strategy. It could be pretty broad level, 10 years, but then you make a plan for individual year. Like this year I'm going to implement just the water policy, and then you basically you have to make a couple of scorecard, each specific for a different audience. So basically, finance to succeed financially, how should we appear to our shareholder? Internal business plus to satisfy our shareholder and customers, what business processes must we excel on? Like, to suppose you want to use renewable energy, so do we need to change some processes, or do you want to use reuse water and like clean water and reuse the water? What other processes we need to introduce? Like, just talking about sustainability is yeah, you can talk about it like we want, but there is some change in processes. Like instead of sourcing some material from third party vendor, now you're either making it yourself or you're reducing it. So basically you're introducing some new processes which reduces the input cost or input requirements. And of course, employee also look from like, do we learn from something to achieve our vision? How will we sustain our ability to change and improve? And of course, the society is always changing, right? So this is the provide effective management approach for companies for basis of consistent value, because manage sustainability is also about like, you have to communicate with other people so that you can get a buy-in from management, or depending on which position you are, like you have to get a buying from customers, and so everybody has to benefit, and managing sustainability is all about benefiting everybody. So this also help us, like, whatever you're trying to do, is it actually worth doing it or not? Like it's like before even you're jumping on it, you are like basically uh, planning a bit and actually looking from each perspective, like is it uh, how will we do, and how we measure success, how we measure partial success, or how we measure failure. Like, oh, uh, uh, so measure like number of customers, the customers, we may look into like how many customers we got, customer satisfaction we also look like, that's how we do for customers. Like customers are more happy, we're getting more customers. Like not only we, so customer satisfaction is important for retention, because there's a huge cost on acquiring customers. So if you want to retain customers, you need to have satisfied customers, and you need to have a, like, fans of your product, so that customers are actually talking about positive about your product. So that gives lot of traction and lot of reference customers. But if it talks bad about your product, then obviously no, never buy this product, man, this is shucks. So um, and you can see target mm, how do we get customers? So you can make, like 8,000 per customer per month, average customer. So you can make some target, and you can do what action you want to do. So how do we achieve more number of customers? Uh, So you can, if you are depending on which kind of business, like for this kind of business, we need to hire more person. We have to train them for customers, give more training to how to do that. And then obviously at the end of the result, we measure the results, right? So yeah, so this case here, they achieved the customers, they got more customers, but obviously they couldn't achieve a customer satisfaction score which they wanted, which is fine, So you basically, at least you got more customers and you tried more, and it's about improvement procedures as well. So basically, drafting a sustainability balance code for select a business strategic business unit, determine environmental and social exposure, determine the strategic relevance of environmental social aspect. You have to then think about the financial aspect, then from customer perspective, then process perspective, and learning. And obviously there's also non-marketing perspective as well, like so sometimes government regulation is there, local social environment is there. So as you all know, sustainability has three important, like people only know sustainability as ecology. Usually they don't even know about social and economy is also a basic inherent part of sustainability. Means we make more profit or more revenue. We we are better for environment, and we also good for society as well as employees. So this, translation of the vision, classify as vision and strategy, build a BSP, then you do communicate network. You have to basically convince whoever, or give meetings, get them funding, whatever you like. Do the corporate planning, like set budget, set milestone, and feedback and learning. Like, as you said, like it's basically a cyclical process. Like, you may want to do something, like you may want to say, hey, I want to replace recycle all the water, which is not possible. So you have to make, but it's okay. If you want to plan that way, you can plan and then learn, hey, maybe it's not a good planning. Yeah. It's how much can you bite is important. Like you could, using sustainability, you could make your cost zero, but is it possible to make your cost zero? Like that's, and it's okay if you want to plan that way, but you have to make a realistic goal. Like say, okay, we will reduce the cost this year, we'll increase the revenue by 10%, but we'll reduce the input cost by 10%, So that's like a something which is achievable. Once you try to achieve 10%, you might achieve 5% or might achieve 15%. And that's helps you set them how much, like a pace of your organization, like how quickly your organization is adapting. Like you're not just the only person working in the organization. You have to see the, heartbeat of the organization, how well they are. Sometimes you may have to hire new people, and align, train them, So as we have seen in our example, we did hire people and we did train people so that we learn about this new things, like, how do we do new processes? Right. So this is just a brief, like there's nothing about, it's just a strategy. How do we make a balanced scorecard, Okay, so that's it. Balance scorecard. Let's go to the next topic. Anybody has any questions?
No.
Okay, so let's go to the next topic. Benchmarking. So what is benchmarking, right? So basically, how do we measure success, right? how do we define that we met our objective? So there has to be some baseline, and then we have to compare with that. We have to compare apple with apple. We can't say that, so you have to, so this is what we do, benchmarking and batch. So it's basically extension of that balance scorecard, right? But to have meaningful data, we need to have some consistent way of measuring, with not only you measure, but even other organization measure, or maybe the world is following as a custom. So benchmarking is a common practice that helps establish baseline, define industry best practices, identify risk and opportunity, create competitive environment within the company organization using multiple key topics of management practice, sustainable product development, brand development, ESG factors. This process can yield valuable data that helps company evaluate. And when we go to other thing, like there is a pretty well-defined standards. There are multiple standards, and we will go through a couple of well-known standards which people follow, and they're very well documented as well, like what we measure, how we measure, and other stuff like that. What are the benefit of benchmarking? Sustainable benchmarking provide many benefits, including way to gather comparable information related to other benchmark entities, evaluate the sustainability performance of voluntary and mandatory standards, forecast potential business risk, opportunities, and demonstrate. Like say you are transporting, so last, you are saying like my end-to-end delivery, what is the carbon footprint? Is it expensive? Does the carbon footprint more by year delivery, faster delivery, slower delivery? So these are the things which we look into these guys and try to achieve what we want. So basically, it helps us determine whether or not sustainability strategies are effective, provide recommendation for closing potential gaps, and assess the business value to gain by addressing those gaps. The benchmarking process also provides guide to stakeholders. As I said, it's just extension of the other thing, and it helps the other whom you're talking a standard way of comparing. It's used across the industry. Government can use benchmark to authorize sustainable standard, use public procurement. You might even get tax break, because if you are like Europe has introduced a penalty of €100 per ton of CO2 released. So you have to pay a penalty if you are. So if you have a good benchmarking, you can actually tell them, hey, I'm not releasing that much. And that will save you a lot of taxes or penalties. Or you may get even credit for that, because there are like ESG credit from many countries or European unions or even India. You couldn't apply for those credits or tax credits once you have. So these are the advantage of having this proper reports, because not only, and of course you're communicating to your customers and you're saving costs, so not only you're saving costs, you're actually telling your management that we are saving your cost, because doing and telling also is important. So it basically helps in a lot of things, and ranks and perform better to incentivize improvement, right? So there are many benchmarking models, right? So a threshold model focuses on determining whether entities meet a performance level defined by the benchmark and can sometimes result in recognition and certification. So if you do something, like you could get a certificate, like, you're organic certified, you are rainforest certified, you are dissatisfied. So they are model which, like, if you meet those criteria, you will be getting a recognition or certification. You could be ranked, like who is the best ranking model, order perform similar entities against benchmark from highest to lowest, like, among the auto manufacturer, this is the best performing in terms of environment, in terms of waste. So again, that gives you a company more visibility across the customers as well. Everybody comes to know. So again, it drives not only innovation within your company, it also drives your sale, because your name is actually featuring in couple of, because environment has become pretty hot topic these days, so everybody's talking about it, even though nobody wants to do anything much about it, but at least they're talking about it. So you can also do internal comparison and see focus, like, say department A and uses less waste, so which reduces cost. And the other one uses like, so you can do peer-to-peer comparison model, like you could have like two branches which so you implement it in one branch and see the differences, so that helps you, or you can see your differences between your past data as well. So improvement model focuses on gap. So you can see like, hey, so I want to have zero waste. Like, I want to reuse 100% of the water. So what are we doing now? Oh, we are only reusing 10%. So that the gap health focuses like what we can do and how we can plan it. So there are a couple of tools again. So one of the things here, it's little bit so there are many tools, and the GRI standard I told about, right? So we'll cover in detail about reporting things. So this is most commonly used, but India also has its own standards as well, which we'll also cover in detail later. So there's UN Sustainability Development Goals. Suppose you're going after the UN is if you're international customers, maybe you want to go with not only Indian standards but also international standard. Like IT, mostly if you have global customers, you want to display some global data. Again, there's also about social things. So you also have UN Guiding Principle of Business and Human Rights. Global, as I said, this is a pretty standard used for reporting. And again, it's pretty well documented. Like I encourage everybody to go through these links, at least use this keyword and read more about them, what it means. Also, there is Dow Jones Sustainability Index, Sustainable Accounting Center, OECD, Due Diligence Guidance Responsibility, and FAO and ILO as well. So these international frameworks can prove useful when structuring and delineating benchmark content. However, they need to be translated into criteria that are clearly measurable and relevant to the scope and purpose of benchmarking. So one of the toughest thing in sustainability is like, how do we measure it? Like you can say, hey, I'm releasing less CO2, but how do you know you're releasing less CO2? So some of like my entire carbon footprint is less. So how do you know? Because carbon footprint is so much, right? How do you procure the product? How do you manufacture the product? How do you deliver the product to customer? And also end of life matters, like how you dispose once the product is gone. How do you dispose of the product? So you have to measure the entire, and also you also have to see a running cost of customer. Like, does it uses more electricity? That so maybe you are doing everything better, but then that product uses more electricity. That defeats the whole purpose of sustainability. So again, one another things about it, like it's not about always being positive in everything, right? So it's about being transparent, because you don't want to be caught in the wrong foot. Like, I am 100% sustainability. You can say I achieved 22%, I achieved 15%, and you can say what you achieved, and be concrete about those, so that people can say, hey, yeah, yes, you're good, but you see your product is using this guy. So yeah, but so that's what you have to be rigorous in your benchmarking. It has to be clear, precise, and produce quality outcomes. And again, it has to be participatory. So you need to get involved of the stakeholder. Like, and again, it will help you. Stakeholders, when they get involved, you might get more funding, you might get more resources. If customers get involved, say you launch tree planting drive, right, and you can involve your customers, or you involve the society, what you're getting now, well, you're getting retained customers, or you're getting new customers, because now the customers will think you as a good organization. Like you're like just running a tree planting drive and involve customers, and so that's participatory, helps you in and obviously get help in planting the trees, but also in recycling some of the products. So you can do whatever participatively within the organization, outside the organization. You can call for volunteers, so let's do a cleaning drive, let's do a recycling drive, or something like that. You have to be impartial. So you need to identify and mitigate conflict of interest, like so you don't want, like, I want to use something because somebody else is benefiting. You have to be a little bit so impartiality is also important. You have to be efficient. So you need to improve redundancy, like it. Okay, so benchmark exercise will likely, okay, be improvement oriented. Like you have to be continuously do the gap analysis. We will cover gap analysis in detail, what it means later. But then you have to continuously improve and reward improvements. Like, somebody is saving cost to your organization, you need to reward them. Like, maybe you can give them a rise, maybe you can give them a bonus, maybe you can give them one-off benefit, whatever be. But rewarding also helps people do better in their job and help reduce your cost and follow sustainability principle. And again, it should be accessible, because sustainability is one of those tough topic which everybody talks about, but nobody exactly know what it is. So you need to be pretty much like whatever you are doing, at least in that aspect, you don't have to cover the entire sustainability thing. Like, as I said, every organization could be different. So you could just focus in, like, if I'm Coke company, or if you're like a beverage company, you can only talk about water and cleaning and other stuff, because that's what, and that makes it a lot easier for people to compare. Like, hey, these guys were using 1 million liters water last year. This year they are using 900,000. They reduced it by 90%, and at the same time they made more bottles. So it's not only, so it has to be comparatively. Suppose you use 90%, but your sale dropped by 90%. That means there was no net gain, because the only reason you use 90% water is because you made 90% of the product. So how do we get started with benchmarking, right? How do we get started? Where do we define the purpose of benchmark and most effective strategy to achieve that purpose? Like, whatever you define your strategy, like, I want to reduce water usage by 10%, right? That's what you're, to identify the audience and understand the expectation ahead of time. So, to finance people will say, hey, our water bill will reduce, or so what, when water, our electricity will reduce, or our input cost will be reduced, cleaning cost will be reduced. So every strategy we identify the audience and make up scorecard and give them. Establish the scope of the benchmark, who and what being benchmark. For example, what sector or commodity, geography, entity, supply chain, scope, segmentation. Like, if you are multi-branch, you can just do it in only one branch just to see that whether it works or not. Designate who will manage the process. Like, you need to have somebody who takes forward this. It's not about just say I will reduce 10%, but who will manage that process. Like, categorize the, because it's not about only measuring at the end, it's also about continuously evaluating and see that are we actually meeting the target or not. It's not about the end of the year, hey, oh, we started with 10% strategy, but we ended up with 95%. But we need to come up within, like, we need to see whether we are going in the right direction or not, so that failure is, at least we are better than what we planned for. Categorize the tough criteria that we'll use to evaluate the sustainability performance. Determine the evaluation structure, like how will you going to evaluate it? Is it mandatory or aspirational? Like, sometimes it may be mandatory because the government makes you do, like European Union had made, like, if you don't achieve it, you will penalize you. So it's kind of mandatory. That is still not mandatory because it's only penalizing it, but sometimes your license could be cancelled as well. Like, if you are releasing more waste than allowed by certain limit, your environmental department might just ban your company. So then it becomes a mandatory, or sometimes it's aspirational, and obviously avoiding penalties in between mandatory and aspirational. Is there an option to implement scoring? Are they including progress model? Stimulate how the result is communicated. Once you measure and benchmark a performance, you can learn about the data and take actions. Company can adjust sustainability goals. Like, every year you can retake your goals and even change what you want, like, because you learned, like, hey, maybe 10% is too aggressive, maybe oh, we achieved 10-20%, so yeah, let's target next time more saving. Like, no, next time let's, because obviously, how do corporate make profit? Reducing the cost and improving the revenue. And sustainability helps in both the things. Like, sustainability help you improve revenue, and there's no upper limit on improving revenue. Yes, reducing cost, you can only reduce it to 0%. But of course, you could go like you can start manufacturing electricity, renewable energy, but you can start selling them. So you can even go input also can go negative cost. So yeah, not only you making your own water, you're actually selling water also. So but of course, doing zero is the right goal. But again, as I said, like you can start making input, and it could be both way. It can keep going up, and input cost can keep going down, zero. Yeah, but up to zero. Of course, zero is not possible. You can target 90% saving, 10% saving, 20% saving every year. You can keep increasing it. Whether used by companies. So many people, peer-to-peer reporting. So we already covered material assessment, with investors inquiring more and more frequently about your company is doing regard. So if you want to raise investment, this is another good way to communicate how to treat employee, how you treat vendors, your dedication to sustainability, another activity that fall. So again, if you have report for like say 4 or 5 years and you have consistently delivered these results, right? Like this is what we want, that goes a long way in actually helping your organization go longer. Like, obviously it's all about market domination. Like, business is like a flow. Either your revenue goes down, or it's not. Just if you're saying, hey, I'm just doing okay, it's just a matter of time somebody will trip you, because if you're not doing more revenue, somebody else is doing more revenue. If you're not reducing cost, somebody else is reducing cost, and they will reduce the cost and take over your customers. So it's your, as an organization or as a person, you cannot still idle. And as I already talked about personality, right? If you're not following sustainability, you will get diseases. Not that if you will get disease, it's just a matter of when you will get diseases. So your not only your employee productivity will suffer. So that there is a lot of gain from business perspective as well as from personal aspirational, like your own life, your employee health. So yep, I think this is like I will take like you can join this again in 5 minutes. Okay, you guys have another class in what time? 2 o'clock, right?
Uh,
One
yeah.
thirty. Okay, 2 o'clock. Okay, so yeah, so we will join back in five. Like I don't know how much it will take time to save the video, so probably we'll join back in 10 minutes. Okay.
Okay.
Okay, because yeah, it's okay. Bye. So
Okay.
okay, let's see, and new. Okay, see you in 10 minutes.